You guys all ready? We're really switching it up on you today with me starting. I know. So thank you for joining us today on yet another briefing on COVID-19 and the mitigation efforts that our communities are working to enforce and working to help all of us collectively together slow the spread of COVID-19 in Winnebago County. First, I always have the opportunity to usually follow Dr. Martell, so I'll just say it now. Thank you for the work that you do and the leadership that you've shown in a really difficult position. I always think of whenever the governor or many of our elected officials at the state or national level come up, you're looking at options, none of which you really want to choose from. And I just appreciate your leadership in putting the health of our citizens first. I want to begin today by talking about a couple of things that we're doing at City Council. Tonight at City Council, a number of important items are going to be up for discussion. First, we know that bars and restaurants are being greatly impacted by the current enhanced state-mandated mitigations. To help them, we are moving a resolution through City Council to rebate 50% of annual liquor license fees for bars and restaurants. And I know that some owners have paid, some have not, so please, if you own a restaurant or a bar, please pay close attention. If an owner has already paid the annual fee in full, the city will rebate 50%. If the owner has only paid the first installment, they will not be required to pay their second installment when they file their renewal application. We understand that the reduction of the annual liquor license will not be sufficient for many of our businesses. So we're going to continue our work with the state to provide funds and assistance to our local bars and restaurants. Unfortunately, the relief programs the state have promised our community have not resulted in the release of actual dollars to our business, and we will continue to be ardent advocates for our local businesses. Second, we're proposing to keep our 2020 property tax levy to fund 2021 operations flat this year. This represents the 8th consecutive year that the city of Rockford has either reduced our property tax levy or kept that levy flat. So what this means to you is this means that the city is not requesting the $2.14 million that we otherwise could have under our caps. That means $2.14 million stays in your pockets as opposed to city coffers. The estimated rate is 54 cents lower than when it was in 2015. That's a 16% reduction that we have seen. Property values continue to increase due to strong residential sales. The citywide assessed value is right now projected to increase about 6.3%. Also want to touch on probably the thing that many of us are thinking about. We all want this pandemic to be over. We all want the mitigation efforts to be over. We all want the face covering mandates to be over. We all want to return to some form of normalcy. What I can say is no one can give you that answer of when that'll be. Not me, not Dr. Martell, certainly not the national experts. But what we do know is that there's several things that we all individually and collectively can do to help slow the virus here spreading in our own community. Those things are the same things we continue to say to you week after week. Wear your face covering. Practice social distancing. Wash your hands. These are 3 simple steps that have been proven to have significant impact on us slowing the spread of the virus, not just here, but across our country. When the coronavirus began in the spring, people were canceling vacations. They stopped visiting their grandparents. They hunkered down at their homes for what they thought would be just this brief but critical period of isolation. Everyone felt also this sense of togetherness that we had, that we were all in this fight together. Now, 7 odd months later, fear has brought us all together into some form of fatigue. I want to encourage everyone to bring back that same feeling of togetherness. Bring back that kindness towards others. Checking in, even if it's done virtually or remotely, on your neighbors. And bring back that sense of hope that we will get through this together, because each step that we take individually helps us collectively. And with that, I want to turn it over to Dr. Martell so that she can discuss today's numbers.
Thank you, Mayor McNamara. We had Tier 2 mitigations went into effect on Sunday. So obviously Tier 1 mitigations were not having the impact that we needed. We had sustained positivity rate, we had continuing rates of infections. And I think it becomes very important to understand that while we are constantly saying we're tired of this pandemic, the pandemic is not tired of us. So we learned that meetings, social events are limited to 10 individuals, down from 25. But this does not apply to schools, units of government, religious gatherings, public transportation, and offices. The guidance has been updated for restaurants and bars that serve as venues for meetings, social gatherings, and events to reflect this limit. So now we are down to 10. Organized recreational activities are limited to less 25 guests or 25% overall, both indoors and outdoors. But any group size, so any group class, is limited to 10 or fewer. You see the Tier 2 mitigations also discourage non-essential travel. So similar to what the mayor recalled when we were canceling travel plans and talking to individuals, and people got away for the summer months, we are now discouraging non-essential travel. So please refer to the Winnebago County Health Department website for the travel guidance. We update that weekly on Tuesdays. And I'm asking and imploring our employers to review this guidance and make the necessary plans to support implementing this travel guidance. This means that some areas will require a quarantine. This means that some areas we would discourage any non-essential travel. So think about those mid-fall breaks and getaways. This is not the time. We need to be spending more time, hunkering down at home, limiting our number of contacts, decreasing our number of exposures with the intent of getting us through this phase or this second wave. The guidance also talks about limiting groups of individuals to 4 or less for those as age 12 to 17 outside of the school environment. So this applies to things like youth groups, sports clubs and teams, which have been a source of outbreaks for us, scouting groups, and other after-school activities, recognizing that we need to protect our children in our community. So that went down to 4 individuals or less. We're encouraging and promoting those who can work to work from home. While we may have all returned to work environment, again, it's time to begin to think about what we can do to have individuals work remotely. And again, I reiterate, there is no indoor seating permitted at bars and restaurants. Outdoor seating has further limitations, meaning no tables can have more than 6 individuals seated at them, and the operating hours continue from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. So as we talk about this, we talk about what we've been doing, I get a lot of calls, a lot of emails, a lot of COVID-19 hotlines about enforcement. And I've talked about this before, and I've said we can't police our way out of this pandemic, but we are having to do enforcement activities because we have individuals and community groups that may not be understanding what they need to do to help us get out of this phase of high positivity and high rates of transmission. And I want to tell you that our team spends more time having to do this than I really think that we would want to be spending our public health resources on. We've issued 41 notices of noncompliance. We've issued 24 orders to disperse and 40 closure orders. And several, in fact, a significant number, have had to have 2 or more closure orders. And I remind people, it can be done though, because we have 4 that have come off the posting due to 30 days of compliance. And we need to applaud those individuals and entities that did that, because it was not easy. Berean Baptist School, Choice Furniture, CJ's Public House, and Tony's of Winnebago all came off. They were able to come into compliance. And so I urge those institutions and restaurants and establishments that are on that list to come into compliance. You are not helping our community. You are hurting our community. And it will make it harder for the rest of our businesses and the rest of our institutions and our children to remain in school. We are not going to police our way out of a pandemic, but there will be implications for those who don't follow. And we will continue to follow the process. So I've been asked, again, I refer to it, closure orders are issued for 48 hours, and we refer those to the state's attorney for review of charges. It's also referred to the Attorney General at the state level and the Illinois State Police. We do refer to the local municipality for suspension of any applicable liquor and or gaming licenses, and to local law enforcement. We need our partners on this. The health department we do not have the ability, besides issuing the closure order, to go out and actually enforce it. For any institution that remains open during this time frame while we're in the process, we will continue with follow-up at 48 hours, and we will continue to reissue closures. And you heard from the governor last week when he spoke about the business interruption grants, and while we understand that they may not be coming as fast or as quickly as we want to make sure that they know that we are enforcing and we are submitting those names of those areas, those restaurants, bars, and businesses that are not in compliance, because we don't think they should be at the first of the line to receive any kind of support or restitution during all of this. We want to support those businesses, bars, restaurants who have been negatively impacted by this to be able to get the monies they need to support them through this terrible time frame. So with that, I'm going to talk about the numbers for Saturday, Sunday through Monday. We averaged 114 cases per day, so we're reporting a total of 343. Cases are aged 1 year to 96 years, and I keep reminding, there is no age that is spared. In total, Winnebago County has now surpassed 10,000 cases. We are now at 10,119. Our rolling day positivity rate is 13.5%, well above the 6.5% that we need to get ourselves out of mitigation. And unfortunately, we are reporting 7 additional deaths in individuals aged 60 to 100. And I come back, we mourn as a community their loss. They are someone's family member, spouse, parent, grandparent, colleague, employer, employee. This is a significant loss to our community. And while our overall recovery rate is 97%, we need to continue to recognize that this pandemic has had serious morbidity and mortality for certain segments of our population. We are also reporting 7 new locations of concern, and this should not surprise anyone. As the community infection rate spreads, it's hard to keep them out of our congregate settings. So Amberwood Care Center, Goldie Floberg Center 2, Medina Nursing Center, Stepping Stones in Overdene, Stepping Stones on Darwood, Stepping Stones on Court, and the Atrium. They are all being impacted by the positivity rate in our community.